Welcome, history and language enthusiasts. Have you ever pondered the hidden depths of the texts we recite daily? Today, we embark on a fascinating journey back in time, peeling back the layers of history, linguistics, and early manuscripts to uncover the profound and somewhat mysterious origins of one of the most widely recited prayers in the world. Stick around, because what we are about to explore might completely transform your understanding of historical texts and their evolution across centuries. The exploration begins with a linguistic lens, specifically focusing on the Semitic languages that dominated the ancient Near East. When examining the vocabulary, phrasing, and underlying meanings of this foundational prayer, scholars of Oriental studies and Semitic languages have observed striking parallels with the Aramaic and Syriac languages. In fact, some academics argue that the linguistic structure is so deeply rooted in Syriac Aramaic that it becomes nearly indistinguishable from the ancient supplications traditionally recited in Eastern Christian churches. This observation gives rise to a compelling historical hypothesis. Could this iconic prayer have originated as a Syriac-Aramaic Christian supplication? Proponents of this theory suggest it may have been translated and incorporated into the larger religious corpus during the era of early codification in the Levant and Iraq, a period marked by significant administrative and cultural consolidation. To understand how such a text was integrated and standardized, we must look at the rigorous textual analysis conducted by modern researchers who apply a methodology of systematic doubt, a philosophical approach that strips away centuries of assumed tradition to examine the bare historical facts. When applying this critical lens, researchers have highlighted profound disagreements among early jurists and commentators. One of the most striking historical anomalies is the absence of this very prayer from the personal manuscript of one of the most prominent early scribes of the faith. This scribe deliberately excluded it, reportedly to prevent the mixing of what he considered the core divine revelation with other liturgical or supplementary texts. This selective exclusion opens the door to another fascinating historical layer. Some researchers posit that the prayer, or at least its core components, predates the established religion altogether. It is strongly linked to the spiritual legacy of a well-known pre-Islamic monotheist, a seeker of truth who actively rejected the polytheism of his era. This individual embarked on a profound spiritual quest across the Levant, seeking a pure, unadulterated faith. Historical narratives recount his interactions with established religious communities of the time. When he approached them, he was warned that joining their ranks would require taking on a portion of God's anger or embracing straying from the absolute truth. He vehemently refused both, declaring that he was fleeing from divine anger and refusing to go astray, choosing instead to remain an independent monotheist. Astonishingly, this exact terminology, fleeing from those who have evoked anger and those who have gone astray, forms the concluding, defining verses of the prayer we know today. The alignment between this historical figure's personal spiritual journey and the text's final verses strongly suggests that the prayer might have originally been his personal supplication before being adopted and adapted by later generations. The history of the text's standardization further supports the idea of an evolving manuscript. Decades after the initial period of revelation, significant variations in recitation emerged across different geographical regions, from Armenia to Azerbaijan. This divergence alarmed leaders, prompting an urgent initiative to compile a single, unified, authoritative text to prevent the community from splintering over textual differences. However, historical records reveal that before this standardized version was enforced, the personal codices of major early figures contained vast discrepancies in wording and phrasing. For instance, earlier versions of the prayer contained different verbs for guide us and variations in the phrasing of the straight path, which were eventually smoothed over in the final official compilation. To truly grasp the linguistic transformation, we can examine the text through a direct Syriac translation, which reveals nuanced and beautiful differences in meaning. For example, the opening invocation translates in its Syriac roots to "In the name of God, the merciful, the beloved." The expression of universal praise translates to "Praise be to God, great of appearance," implying the Lord of all times. Perhaps the most profound shift is found in the phrase traditionally understood as "You alone we worship." In the Syriac interpretation, this translates to "Wherever you are, we worship you," transforming the verse from a simple declaration of exclusivity into a dynamic spiritual journey of a human being actively searching for the true God. Similarly, "Guide us to the straight path" utilizes the ancient Syriac word for a physical road or path, emphasizing a literal and spiritual journey toward the divine. As for the final verses concerning those who have evoked anger and those who are astray, a critical historical perspective suggests these lines may not have been part of the original ancient supplication. Instead, they were likely appended during a later period of political and religious consolidation. This addition served a crucial sociological purpose: to forge a distinct identity for the new, emerging religion by explicitly differentiating its followers from older, established faiths. Later commentators solidified this distinction by explicitly identifying the angry and the astray with specific contemporary religious groups, cementing the texts not just as a prayer, but as a boundary marker for the new community. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the intertwined roots of language, history, and faith. Exploring the origins of ancient texts allows us to appreciate the complex, beautiful tapestry of human belief and the shared linguistic heritage that connects us all. If you found this historical exploration insightful, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like on this video. We would also love to hear your thoughts and perspectives on these historical theories, so feel free to share your insights in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring.